Hi, my name is Tomasz and you're watching Casual DIY channel. Today we're going to be making a simple low profile fence system for an MFT tabletop. Check out the video. The main components of this build is a 20mm aluminium bar. My decals are 20mm in diameter, and a piece of HDP plastic 10mm. Now, why this and not, for example, plywood? I found that the HDP plastic is more stable. It doesn't flex that much as, for example, a thinner version of plywood. So we want to go as thin as possible, and I found the 10mm is just the sweet spot for me. I usually work with boards or sheets that are a little bit thicker than that. Probably the minimum is 12mm for me. So 10mm will be absolutely perfect. But as I said, you know, if you don't have that, you can use some plywood. 10mm plywood. 8mm is probably too thin. It's going to be a little bit too flexy in my opinion. And if you're wondering about you know, where to buy it, as if you want to buy it in a sheet, the HDP plastic is very expensive. However, if you go to your local pound shop or some discount stores and try to find those ultra cheap white cutting boards that you can get for almost nothing, that is HDP plastic, and they're usually quite sturdy, so you can pick one of those and just chop it into pieces that will suit your needs. But with that introduction out of the way, let's start working on this. First of all, I'm gonna cut the HDP plastic into 3 strips. In my case, it's about 11 centimeters. That's what I'm going for, but obviously you can do whatever you want. Just using a simple stop block, a piece of chipboard and a clamp, so I can do repetitive cuts easily and quickly. Now I'm going to be using my router to make 2 channels in these boards through which the bolt's going to go. Now I'm using my router, but obviously you can just pre-drill 2 holes and use a jigsaw or anything like that. You don't need to use a router like I am if you don't feel comfortable with it or you actually don't have a router. For me, it's just the easiest and most accurate way to make those channels. And now the other side, I have put some marks on the fence of my router, as you can see, so I know where to do the plunge cut and then at what point to stop. I'm using 8mm straight bit for this process. And there you go, that's how it looks like. Now it's time to cut the aluminium rods into the right sizes. You know, 2 centimeters will be just enough. You don't have to go any longer than that really. Now I will be using my jig that I've made a while ago to use with my pillar drill. This will give me the ability to pre-drill some accurate holes in the middle of these rods through which the bolts will go. I now just need to put it in the correct place, clamp it, and we can do some drilling. Now it's time to make sure that there are no hard and sharp edges on these rods, and obviously that the faces of them are flat. Okay, it's time to assemble everything. As you can see, is just a bolt with a washer. I'm actually going to secure them to the aluminium rod with some CA glue and an activator. Obviously, you can use something stronger like, I don't know, 5-minute epoxy, for example. But I found in most cases the CA is plenty strong. And it's a really simple assembly, as you can see. Don't forget the washers. It does actually help with this jig to work correctly. Now it's time for the other one, and the jig itself will be completed. But obviously I still got 2 more to put together. And there you go, it looks like that. Simple design, and let's have a look if it works. Obviously the size of these, they can be dictated by how your MFT table is set up, what are the distances between the holes, and what sizes of these fences do you actually need. But I have to say they come out really well, they're adjustable and they are really strong. They're not moving at all. They're really solid. As you secure them with the knobs, they're not going absolutely anywhere. There you go, solid as a rock. Mainly I'm going to be using this for sanding smaller objects, or actually hand routing with my router. It just gives me the ability to move freely and not to worry about clamps getting in the way. Obviously correct setup will make sure that the knobs are not in the way of the router foot. And as you can see, they just work with any size of boards really. There's no limitation to that for sure. And there you go, super simple project, really easy to make. And I made this for more or less 2 purposes. One, so I can easily sand thinner pieces, and secondly is to use my router when I'm hand routing. So that will give me the option that I don't have to clamp it anywhere. That will be stable as is with these around the board itself. They're more or less low profile. Obviously you can mess around with the setup with the holes, and maybe you can do some side movement as well, making sure that the knobs are definitely not in the way of your projects. Maybe the boards, make them smaller or larger depending on what you need. But the idea is there. And I hope this will help you in your next projects as well. So guys, it could work as a fence as well, but as I said, for me that's the main 2 reasons I made it, for sanding thinner pieces and to use my hand router. And if I'm routing smaller pieces, it's definitely harder to clamp them. The foot of the router would definitely collide with any clamps there are. So this solution for me should work absolutely fine. Now, I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did, drop me that like button down below. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel, as more content is coming to my channel. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Take care.